The 14th of June, 1899, Volume 2. Jesus wants to chastise the world. This morning, most loving Jesus would not come. In my interior, I kept thinking, how is it that he is not coming? What is new now? Yesterday he came so often, and today the hour is getting late, and he has not yet showed himself at all. What heartbreak, what patience it takes with Jesus. It seemed to me that my whole interior was taking up arms, for it wanted Jesus, and it waged such a war against me as to give me pains of death. My will, superior to everything, tried to put peace by persuading my senses, inclinations, desires, affections, and all the rest to calm down. For Jesus would come. So, after prolonged suffering, Jesus came, carrying a cup in his hand, full of coagulated blood, putrefied and stinking, and he told me, "Do you see this cup of blood? I will pour it over the world." While he was saying this, Mama came, the Most Holy Virgin, and my confessor together with her. They prayed to Jesus that he would not pour it over the world, but have me drink it. The confessor said to him, "Lord, why keep her as victim if you do not want to pour it over her? I absolutely want you to let her suffer and to spare the people." Mama was crying and insisting with Jesus and with the confessor that he would not give up praying until Jesus would be content with accepting the exchange. Jesus insisted that he wanted to pour it over the world, and at first he almost seemed to frown. I saw myself all confused. I was unable to say anything because the sight of that cup full of blood, so ugly, was so horrifying as to cause my whole nature to tremble. What would it be to drink it? However, I was resigned. If the Lord would give it to me, I would accept it. You can say then, the chastisements contained in that blood, if the Lord would pour it over the world. It seems that from this very day, he keeps the hail prepared, which will cause great damage, and it seems that it must continue in the following days. But then Jesus seemed a little bit more calm, so much so that he seemed to embrace the confessor because he had prayed to him in that way. However, without coming to any conclusion on whether he would pour it over the people or not. So it ended, leaving me in indescribable pain because of what may happen. End of the reading. The 14th of June, 1900, Volume 3, The Effects of the Cross. As I was a little in suffering, on coming, my adorable Jesus compassionated me and said to me, "My daughter, what is it that you are suffering so much? Let me relieve you a little." So, though Jesus was suffering more than I was, he gave me a kiss. And since he was crucified, he drew me outside of myself and placed my hands in his, my feet in his, while my head was leaning on his head and his on mine. How content I was being in that position. Though the nails and the thorns of Jesus gave me pains, yet they were pains that gave me joy, because they were suffered for my beloved good. Indeed, I would have wanted them to increase more. Jesus too seemed to be content with me, keeping me in that way, drawn to himself. It seemed to me that Jesus was refreshing me and that I was of refreshment for him. Then we went out in that position, and having found the confessor, immediately I prayed to him, Jesus, for his, the confessor's, needs. And I ask the Lord to deign to allow the confessor to hear how sweet and gentle his voice is. To make me content, Jesus turned to him and spoke of the cross, saying, "The cross absorbs the divinity into the soul, renders her similar to my humanity, and reproduces my own works in her." Afterwards, we continued to go around for a little while, and oh, how many sorrowful sights, such as to pierce the soul through. The grave iniquities of men who do not lower themselves even before justice. On the contrary, they hurl themselves with greater fury, almost wanting to render double wounds for wounds, and the great misery that they are preparing for themselves. Then, to our greater sorrow, we withdrew. Jesus disappeared, and I withdrew inside myself. End of the reading. The 14th of June, 1917, Volume 12. The more the soul strips herself of herself, the more Jesus clothes her with himself. Continuing in my usual state, I was praying my lovable Jesus to come in me to love, pray, and repair, because I knew how to do nothing. And sweet Jesus, moved to compassion for my nothingness, came and spent some time with me, praying, loving, and repairing together with me. Then he said to me, "My daughter, the more the soul strips herself of herself, the more I clothe her with myself. The more she believes she can do nothing, the more I act in her and I do everything. I feel all my love, my prayers, my reparations, and so forth being placed in action by the creature. And to give honour to myself, I listen to what she wants to do. Does she want to love? I go to her and love together with her. Does she want to pray? I pray together with her. In sum, her stripping and her loving, which is mine, bind me and force me to do with her whatever she wants to do, and I give to the soul the merit of my own love, of my prayers and reparations. To my highest content, I feel my life being repeated. I make the effects of my work descend for the good of all, because it is not of the creature who is hidden in me, but it is mine. End of the reading. The 14th of June, 1918, Volume 12. Jesus reproaches her because she does not write everything. Continuing one evening after writing, my sweet Jesus came and told me, "My daughter, every time you write, my love receives one more little outpouring, one more contentment, and I feel more drawn to communicate my graces to you. However, know that when you do not write everything, or when you pass over my intimacies with you, over the display of my love, I feel as though betrayed, because in that display of love, in those intimacies with you, I tried to attract not only you to know me and love me more, but also those who would read my intimacies of love, in order to receive more love also from them. And if you do not write, I will not have this love, and I remain saddened and betrayed. And my Jesus, it takes such an effort to put on paper certain secrets and intimacies with you. It seems as if one would want to go outside of the order of others." And Jesus, yes, this is the weakness of all the good who, out of humility, out of fear, deny love to me, and in hiding themselves, they want to hide me. Instead, they should manifest my love to make me loved. So I remain always the Jesus betrayed in love, even by the good. End of the reading. The 14th of June, 1924, Volume 17. How God is Order, the beauty of the soul who lives in the supreme will. This morning, while I was in my usual state, I don't know whether it was a dream, I saw my late confessor, who seemed to take something twisted from within my mind, and he fixed it and untied it. I asked him why he was doing that, and he said to me, I have come to tell you to be attentive to order, because God is order, and one sentence, one word of what the Lord tells you, which you do not report just as it is enough for being not according to order, and it may cause doubts and difficulties in those who will read what you write about his adorable will. On hearing this, I said, is it perhaps that you know that I have written disordered things until now? And the confessor, no, but be attentive for the future. Let the things you write be clear and simple, as Jesus says them to you, and omit nothing, because if only one little sentence, one word of those which Jesus tells you is missing, or if you write it differently, that's enough for order to be lacking. In fact, those expressions, even minute, serve to give light, to allow the meaning to be understood with greater clarity, and to link the order of the truth which good Jesus manifests to you. You are apt to omit many little things, while the little things link the great, and the great link the little. Therefore, be attentive in the future that everything may be well ordered. Having said this, he disappeared from me, and I remained a little concerned. After this, I was abandoning all of myself in the holy divine will. And my Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, my daughter, how beautiful it is to see a soul operate in my will. And as she becomes soaked with all the goods which my will contains, many divine acts can be seen in the soul, which emanate light, and it almost cannot be distinguished whether they are acts of the Creator or of the creature. Becoming impregnated with this eternal will, they have absorbed within themselves a power, a light, and the way of operating of the eternal majesty. Look at yourself, how beautiful my will made you. Not only this, but it encloses me in each one of your acts, because enclosing my will, you enclose everything. I looked at myself and, oh, how much light came out. But what struck me and pleased me the most was to see my Jesus enclosed in each one of my acts. His will imprisoned him within me. End of the reading. The 14th of June, 1929, Volume 26, Accounts with Jesus. The Soul, Bank of the Divine Will. Unforgettable Memories. Eden. I was continuing my round in the Supreme Fiat, and my little mind, arriving at Eden, was saying, Adorable Majesty, I come before you to bring you my little interest of my I love you, I adore you, I glorify you, I thank you, I bless you, and to give you my little interest because you have given me a heaven, a sun, an air, a sea, a flowery earth, and everything that you have created for me. You once told me that each day you want to do the accounts with me and receive this small interest of mine so that we may always be in agreement and keep the whole creation given to me by you as little daughter of your will, safe inside the little bank of my soul. But while I was doing this, a thought told me, but how can you satisfy an interest so great? And besides, how great at all is your I love you, I adore you, I thank you? But while I was thinking this, my sweet Jesus moved in my interior and told me, my daughter, this was an agreement between me and you that I would put the whole creation in the bank of your soul, and you would have to give me the interest, filling it with your I love you, I adore you, I thank you. And since I saw you hampered because of a capital so great, and fearing that you might want to reject this great gift from me, in order to encourage you to receive it, I said to you, I am content with a small interest, and we will do the accounts every day here in Eden. In this way, we will remain in agreement and always in peace, and you will not be worried that your Jesus has placed in your bank a capital so great. And then don't you know the value of an I love you in my will? My will fills the heavens, the sun, the sea, the wind. Its life extends everywhere. Therefore, as you say your I love you, I adore you, and everything else you might say, my fiat extends your I love you in the heavens, and your I love you becomes more extensive than the heavens. Your I adore you extends in the sun, and it becomes larger and longer than its light. Your I glorify you extends in the wind, and it wanders through the air, throughout the whole earth, and its moans, the blows of the wind, now caressing, now mighty, say, I glorify you. Your I thank you extends within the sea, and the drops of water and the darting of the fish say, I thank you. And I see the heavens, the stars, the sun, the sea, the wind, filled with your I love you, with your adorations and the like, and I say, how content I am that I placed everything in the bank of the little daughter of my will, because she pays me the interest wanted by me. And since she lives in it, she gives me a divine and equivalent interest, because my fiat extends her little acts and renders them more extensive than the whole creation. And when I see you coming into Eden to give me your small interest, I look at you and I see in you my divine will doubled, one in you, the other in me, while it is one. And I see myself being paid the interest of my will itself, and I remain satisfied. And oh, how content I am in seeing that my fiat has given to the creature the virtue of making itself be doubled, so as to let her satisfy her creature, and the sweet and dear memory of the acts of the first man done in it. These acts exist still now in our volition, and are as though pledges for him to be reborn in order to have the kingdom of our fiat again. In this Eden, there is the sorrowful memory of the fall of man, the exit he made from our kingdom. We still hear his steps when he went out of our divine fiat, and since this Eden had been given to him so that he would live in it, we were forced to put him out, and we had the sorrow of seeing the work dearest to us without his kingdom, wandering and sorrowful. Our only relief were the pledges of his acts that had remained in our will. These called for the rights of humanity to enter again the place from which it had gone out. This is why I await you in Eden, to receive your small interest, to renew what we did in creation, and to receive the return for a love so great, not understood by creatures, and to find a loving pretext to give the kingdom of our divine will. Therefore, I want this Eden to be dear to you as well, that you may pray us and press us that the beginning of creation, the life of our fiat, may return into the midst of the human family. End of the reading. The 14th of June, 1936, volume 34, God and His will with creation, His will with the celestial beings, His will in discord with the human family. The divine volition, with powerful strength, calls me into the interminable sea of its will, and oh, how good to be in it! How many surprises, how many beautiful things are understood that produce infinite joys, divine lives, love that never says enough. But what felicitates more is to see and to feel that everything is divine will. All the creation forms one single act of supreme volition. But while my mind was lost in it, sweet Jesus, making me his brief little visit with an indescribable love, told me, "Blessed daughter of my volition, you must know that at the head of the kingdom of my divine will is God Himself. Our divinity does nothing other than one continuous act of His. We never do the will of anyone, but always ours. The crown of our attributes is dominated by our fiat. Its kingdom is within us and extends outside of us in our immensity, in our love, power, and goodness, in everything, such that for us everything is our will. In second place is the creation. Skies, suns, stars, winds, waters, even the little blade of grass do nothing other than a continuous act of the fiat. Between them and us there is one respiratory act. We send forth the breath of our will, and creation receives it, and sending it forth gives us the breath that we have given it, that is, all the effects that our will, breathed by it, has produced, and it unites itself to our single unique act. How much glory and honour do we not receive? How our supreme being becomes exalted only because we make our will breathed by the whole creation, and it gives back to us again the breath that we have given it. There is such unity of will with the whole creation that everything that came forth and enters forms one single act of supreme will. And the multiplicity and diversity of things that are seen and happen are nothing other than the effects that our unique and single act produces. Because our fiat never changes, nor is it subject to changing, in all its power is exactly in this: to do one act only in order to be able to produce all the possible and imaginable effects. In the third place come all the angels, saints, and blessed of the celestial fatherland. They go around our supreme being and they breathe the strength, the sanctity, the love, the infinite joys, the happiness without number of the divine volition. They form one single life with it. This life they feel within themselves as their own life. They feel it outside of themselves, in which it brings them the open sea, with divine happiness always new. But one is the act that it forms in heaven, divine will. One is the breath. One single thing is needed, divine will. If, may it never be, a single act, a single breath could enter into heaven that was not divine will, the celestial fatherland would lose all the enchantment, the beauty, the charm with which it was invested. But this cannot be. See therefore that my fiat has all the supremacy. The blessed, by only breathing it, remain filled with seas of joys and of incomprehensible happiness. And while they send forth their breath, our divinity feels the happiness that all the saints enjoy, and we all magnify our supreme volition as beginning, fount, and origin of all goods. In the fourth place comes the human family. It goes around us, but since their will is not one with ours, they do not breathe our volition that places the order, the sanctity, the union, the harmony with its creator, and therefore they remain scattered, disordered, and as lost from us. They are unhappy beings. Peace, happiness, the abundance of goods are far from them, and all the evil comes because our will is not theirs. We do not mutually breathe with each other, and this prevents the communication of our goods, the perfect union with our Supreme Being. Our creative hand that would form its masterpiece in each creature, and the most beautiful one, is stopped because our will is lacking. It does not find their souls prearranged, adaptable, in order to render our divine art feasible. Where our will is lacking, we do not know what to do with that creature. This is the reason why we yearn so much that our divine will reign and form its life in them, because our creative work is hindered, our labours suspended, the work of creation is incomplete. And in order to obtain this, one must be the will of heaven and earth, one the life, one the love, one the breath. And this is the greatest good that we want for creatures. We have so many beautiful works yet to do, but the human volition hinders our step. It binds our arms and renders our creative hands inert. Therefore, one who wants to do our will and live in it gives us the labour, and we make of her what we want. Now you must know that as the creature decides to live of divine will, it places her salvation, her sanctity in safety. We are in her as in our house, and her will serves as material for us, in which, in her every act, we pronounce the fiat in order to form our works worthy of he who lives in her. We act like a king who makes use of the stones, turf, bricks, and lime mortar in order to form a sumptuous royal palace, as to amaze the whole world. Poor king, if he does not have the stones, the necessary materials, in order to form the royal palace, with all that he would have, all his goodwill and money to spend in order to form it, yet lacking the prime materials, he would be without a royal palace. So are we. If the will of the soul is lacking to us, with all our power and will that we have, lacking the material, we cannot form in the soul the beautiful royal palace worthy of our dwelling. Therefore, when the creature gives us her will and takes ours, we are secure. We find everything at our disposition. Little things and great things, natural things and spiritual things, everything is ours. We make use of everything in order to let our omnipotent fiat operate. And since our will does not know how to be without its works, it makes the recall of all its works into the royal palace that with so much love it has formed in the creature. It surrounds itself with all the works of creation. Skies, suns, stars, they give it homage. It places in order in her everything that I did in the redemption. My life, my birth, my infantile tears, my sufferings and prayers, everything. Where my will is, nothing must be lacking, because everything came forth from it. With right, everything is its, and therefore where it reigns, it forms the centralization of all its works. And oh, the beauty, the order, the harmony, the divine goods that are seen in this creature. The heavens are amazed, and everyone admires the love, the power of the divine will, and trembling, they adore it. Therefore, let yourself be worked by it, and it will do such great things as to amaze you. In addition to this, our love, our eternal wisdom, has established all the graces that we must give to the creature, the degrees of sanctity that she must acquire, the beauty with which we must impearl her, the love with which she must love us, and the very acts that she must do. Where our fiat reigns, everything is realized, the divine order is in full vigor, not one comma is moved. Our operation is in full harmony with the works of the creature. And oh, how we delight ourselves. And when we have given her our last love in time, and she will have completed our last act of divine will in her mortal life, our love will give her the flight into the celestial fatherland, and our will receive her into heaven as triumph of its operating and conquering will that with so much love conquered on earth. In fact, her last act will be the outpouring that she will make in heaven in order to begin in our felicitating will that will have no end. On the other hand, where our volition does not reign, the divine order does not exist. How many of our works, broken and without effect, how many divine voids, and filled perhaps with passions, with sins. There is no beauty, but deformity, as to arouse pity. Therefore be attentive, and make it that our volition reigns and lives in you. End of the reading. There are no more readings today.